Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney,
And I'm MK.
and how are you?
Other than like covered in glitter and fucking exhausted, I'm great.
Yeah, my cheeks look crazy, but it's fine.
Yeah, I'm like so tired.
Hmm.
Like just from life. I genuinely don't know how I'm supposed to continue functioning as like a human right now. It's
Yeah.
fine. I just really want it to be Friday because I'm off. I work at Shay's, but that's fine. That's not till the evening. I can
What
get
show
my
do you
shit
have?
together. I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea what I'm working this weekend. Somehow I feel like it's not like a real show.
The fake
And
show.
and by the no, but and by that I mean like
I know,
one of the um
like local or small time, not like one of the big
yeah.
Broadway tours.
Yeah, what am I? That's not what I'm working. That's not what I'm working either. What? Where? Performances. Working. There's nothing playing that day.
Oh, you're just there?
Yeah, now I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm doing because there's, according to the calendar, nothing on.
Oh, maybe it's a secret show. It's exclusive.
Maybe. Maybe it's a private event. No, what am I
That'd be
working?
fun.
Oh, fuck. It's not fun.
Oh,
Star Quest,
well,
which
you
is
know.
a dance competition.
Hmm. I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah, me too. Okay, well, I'm not doing well anymore. It's fine.
I'm so sorry. I broke you. I didn't mean to. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to.
no. So that sucks, but like, that's fine. It's fine. I don't have to work with children. I still have to work with children. They're just dance children.
Which are honestly worse children.
Worse children than my children.
I'll
Oh,
try not to ask follow-up questions when you start
yeah.
telling me stuff now.
Yeah, no, when I don't know the answer, don't ask is apparently the correct answer. Um, yeah, but so I'm fine.
Great. Great.
What am I working after that? Now I gotta figure out what I'm working next weekend just to make sure I have
Mm,
any time in my life
good
that doesn't
stuff.
suck. Oh no, next week I'm
No.
working Les Mis. So that's
Oh, that'll be fun. I've still never
yeah.
seen that.
It's just
Any of it. I read the book.
long,
Yeah.
long.
I listened to the audiobook while I was driving back and forth between New Orleans and West Monroe when I was in law school. That's
Yeah,
when I
that's
that's when I listened to it.
so you know it's
Yeah.
long.
But I had never watched the movie or the stage show. And I'd really like to reread the book because I know that it's just a piece of the book that the movie's about in the stage show. Um,
Right.
and I don't know what it was. So I don't know the book well enough now. So one day. It's a song in one more day. Isn't that a song from Les
It
Mis?
sure
Look,
is.
look at me. Look at me finding references in
You're
my
so
daily
smart.
language. I am. Thank you. Thank
How are
you.
you?
Well, as we all know, when I'm dealing with stuff and avoiding a lot of things, I start playing video games.
Yeah.
And so here we are. Meta just announced their Meta Quest Plus, which is like Xbox Game Pass, but for the Oculus. And
Okay.
so I signed up for it because your first month's free and it's like $60 for the whole year.
Oh, that's not
And
bad.
so yeah, and you get two free games a month. Like so it's like Xbox Gold used to be whenever they would
Right.
give you free games every month. So like you're paying $6 a month, but you're getting two free games regardless.
Nice.
Um, and I have not played those games yet because I just started downloading them last night. But I did get the Panic at the Disco Beat Saber pack. And so I played that while I was waiting for everything to download. And I'm very excited. They have like a detective-y game on there. That was one of the free
Nice.
games, so I could keep that forever. They have
Nice.
Jurassic World on there, and so you get to like be around dinosaurs in your like VR headset. And then my VR started dying because they only last like 2.5 hours before you have to charge them. But I also started a new game that's going away on Xbox Game Pass, so I'm marked to buy it, which I have to see how much it's going to be because if it's too much, I just have to wait.
Yeah.
But you might, it's a Studio Ghibli game. And you know, I don't know Studio Ghibli,
Yeah.
but it's called, I need to look at what it's called because you probably do know it. Oh, goodness gracious. It's like Ni Kino or something, Kuni. Does that mean
What?
anything to you?
Those aren't
Nino
words.
Kuni. They're words. They're words. This one.
I do
Do you know who
not
these
know
people are?
that one. I
Oh,
don't.
well, I was reading about it on Reddit before I downloaded it because you'd probably recognize this little fairy guy if you recognized anyone.
Yeah, no, I know I don't know that one. Now that I'm looking
Okay.
it up right now and I know it's a game that
Is it not based on a show too?
it is not. It is only ever a
Oh,
game.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
I didn't know that.
it's still
It's the same company.
yeah, it's
Huh.
but I mean it's similar animation style, but like it is
Yeah.
not actually.
Interesting. Oh no, there is one. Oh, it
Oh
only
no.
premiered in it came to
And
Netflix in 2020. Nino Kuni. It came in 2020 on Netflix.
oh,
So
but the game came first.
yes, yes, the game came
Yeah.
first, and they have a second one as well. So I've been playing
Yeah.
that, but it's apparently like a 44-hour runtime, and they tell you 2 weeks before it leaves that it's leaving. So I'm not gonna finish it before it leaves. Um, but it's really fun, and I've never played a Studio Ghibli game before because I've only watched one Studio Ghibli movie.
Right.
Um, but I'm having a blast, and I was on Reddit and I was reading about it, and someone was like, "It's basically Pokemon, but his mom's dead." Like, kind of is because you have to like fight creatures like in Arceus where they come at you out in the world,
Yeah.
and that's how it is. But the whole point is like his mom dies, and then he starts going between these two worlds, and like I'm like not even a couple hours in, so this is not any spoilers if you want to play it. Anyone in the
Okay.
world.
Yeah.
So his mom dies, but she like might be this like worldwide sage that's like in the other world, and so he's got to go
Okay.
through all this stuff, and it turns out he's a wizard. So a little bit of Harry Potter maybe. So I've not been playing Harry Potter because I've been trying to play as much as I can on this game before it leaves. Um, but so I'm fine. I'm just playing video games in between, trying to move my entire life to a different place, in world. But yeah,
Yeah.
so while we're living in this space, can you give us a little
I sure
spirituality?
can. I sure can. First of all, I would like to say that it is very funny to me that you were talking about playing the Jurassic World game. Because if you listen to our podcast on Sunday, you will know that Courtney and I have been going through it recently. And so we've been relying on CoStar to tell us how to feel about our lives because we can't make those decisions ourselves. And my inspirational quote for today is what CoStar is telling me to do today. And it says,
I had already forgot you said you were going to use that.
yeah, it says, right now, it's easy to tell the people in your life how much you care about them. Saying I love you is never redundant. You decide what to think.
Oh,
Which is beautiful. But
that is
also,
beautiful.
um, CoStar says that today Courtney and I have a very high compatibility. But then it describes our compatibility. And this, I shit you not, is legitimately what it says. You and Courtney are a T-Rex and a Velociraptor holding a staring contest, glaring each other down, growling quietly, and refusing to give in.
Which one are you?
I feel that velociraptors are my spirit animal,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that when it comes to you and I, you may have more velociraptor energy than I do.
I think I might. I think I might
So,
because I'm a little more chaotic a lot of the time. in
So
weird
it,
ways.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I was planning on reading that the whole time, and then you started talking about Jurassic World, and I was like, we
Meant
are
to be,
dinosaurs. We are dinosaurs.
just like Kesha says.
Yes. As I have glitter on every inch of my face.
Every inch of your
It's
face.
2010 all over again.
Ugh, what a time. It was the best time.
I miss
Speaking
it.
of, I was gonna say this too. I was at a ASCAP's annual meeting, member conference meeting thing
Yeah.
Wednesday. And so I heard a lot of people speak. And on one of the panels, the guy who wrote I'm No Superman, that was the Scrubs theme song, was speaking.
Yeah.
Um, Sam Hollander, who wrote a lot of Panic at the Disco songs,
Yeah.
was on there. And then also the like keynote interview was Jermaine Dupri. And I've never lost my mind more.
It's amazing.
And they played snippets of like Usher's and Mariah Carey stuff that he like worked on like while he was
Yeah.
like telling stories about it and everything. And it's just
It's
light of
amazing.
my life.
Yeah. What a time to be alive.
Um, what a time. So let's go back to 2010 and never
And then
leave.
skip 2 more years to 2012
Oh,
because that's when this episode came out, right?
no, it came out in 2013, so we can just
Oh,
skip
damn it,
three
because
more
we're in
years.
January.
Yeah. But on that note, we are speaking about American Horror Story Asylum, episode 10. So we have 3 episodes left of this season. It is called Name Game. It aired January 2nd, 2013. So we have entered a new year. It was rated 8.8 out of 10. It is when the trivia was added, which I don't know when that was because I meant to double check and I did not. But when the trivia was added, it was still one of the top three rated, highest rated episodes of American Horror Story ever.
Okay.
Um, and it, like I said, it didn't have a date on it, so it probably wasn't like from that year because obviously I think that's one of the highest ones at this point. But yeah, so very high. The number one song is Locked Out of Heaven by Bruno Mars. We could be in 2013 too. That year was fine too. Um, Number one movie is Texas Chainsaw 3D. And the number one book is Threat Vector by Tom Clancy and Mark Greaney. Um, on this day, a few things happened, a few random things happened. Ned Werdimer from the Jeffersons died at 89. Um, Ray Lewis, the football player, announced his retirement.
Okay.
And the Pennsylvania mayor sued the NCAA over Sandusky. And so we had a lot happening at this time.
Yeah.
We had a lot
Um,
happening at this time.
on this day, I was leaving the Dominican Republic to come back after my lovely Christmas and New Year's in the Dominican, and which, I miss the heat. But the funny thing about that is I was just looking at the post from me talking about coming home, and my mom commented on it and said she didn't have a passport, which is the funniest thing in the world to me because my mom leaves the country more than anyone I know.
I feel like that's gonna be me when I finally get my passport. So
Yeah.
it's so much cheaper to leave the country than to stay within the country when you're traveling.
I'm telling you, that video about living at an all-inclusive resort.
I know. I rewatched it because I went through and was catching up on TikTok at 2 a.m. one day
Yeah.
last week, as
Oh,
I
I know
do.
because I woke up and I was like, well, Courtney had a spiral last night because I have 16
Yeah.
notifications.
Yep, that's how it goes. That's how it
So
goes.
whenever I wake up in the middle of the night or wake up in the morning and I have a shit ton of TikTok notifications, one of two things happened. Courtney had a panic spiral and didn't sleep, or my niece woke up in the middle of the night and Brie needed to occupy herself on TikTok. Those are the
Yeah.
only
One is better
two.
than the other.
Correct.
Yeah, Rachel's like, I wish you had a better TikTok time. I was like, sometimes I have like TikTok parties. So like when I'm at Rachel's, we'll watch TikTok together
Yeah,
about events we're doing. I was like, but if it's like a random day and I'm just on TikTok by myself,
it's not
it's
a good
not a
thing.
good sign. It's not a good
No.
sign. So that's fine. That's fine. Um, so our director is returning. Everyone's returning, but our director is Michael Lehman, who we've recently spoken about. The writer is Jessica Scharzer, who wrote Afterbirth, Piggy Piggy, and I Am Anne Frank Part One,
Right.
which is a weird combination of episodes to have written, I feel like.
Yeah.
I was writing it down. I was like, these don't go together. None of these are the
No.
same. Um, the editor is Stuart Schill, who edited I Am Anne Frank Part 1 and Dark Cousin, which were two of our darker episodes. And so if you watch this episode, you will see there was a lot more dark lighting in this
Yeah.
episode,
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
around Monsignor.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. And I was like, everything makes sense now. And I was writing down the editor. I was like, I see.
Yes.
Um, and Michael Lehman does a lot of dark stuff in his the episodes he's directed, but he's had a little more diversity in his episodes. It hasn't all been dark,
Yeah.
but all of Stuart Shill's have been dark. So here we are.
See, I didn't
Um,
I didn't notice it as much this episode as the last two. Um,
I feel
but
like I noticed it more because it seemed very like particular.
see, I felt like this episode went back and forth between light and dark more than the other episodes where the other ones
Mhm.
kind of like lived in darkness. And so maybe that's why the
Yeah,
dark felt more particular, but it's also probably why I didn't notice it as much because it wasn't as
probably
consistent.
so. Yeah, and I feel like the light never got like that light. Like it was a very clear distinction between the light and dark,
Well,
but I didn't feel that it was like light.
I will argue, but only just one particular scene that we will talk about because I have a
Yes,
lot of
yes.
things.
Yes. And I think it's because we've been in so many dark episodes lately that any light felt like super light.
Yeah, but
But I
also
do know
this
what scene you're
one,
talking about also.
yeah.
Yeah. That's just an anomaly. Um,
Yeah.
but our star today is Naomi Grossman, who plays Pepper.
Ah, I knew you were
And
going to talk about Pepper this episode.
mhm. So she's known for American Horror Story, American Horror Stories, um, something I can't read, and Good Girls. And
Okay.
I do not remember who she plays in Good Girls, but she's been in like everything. You just obviously like don't recognize her face
Mhm.
because it's all like distorted and done up here. So like you wouldn't
Yeah,
recognize her necessarily out of character. Um,
right.
but she went to college with Bruno Campos and Seth Meyers. And I was like, why do they mention Bruno Campos? I don't know him as well, but it's mentioned because she learned Portuguese simply because she was in love with Bruno Campos, who was Brazilian. So
Okay.
she is fluent in Portuguese now. Um, they never had a relationship, but she was in love with him apparently all throughout college. Um, HuffPost, Screen Rant, and Sci-Fi all ranked Pepper as the number one American Horror Story character ever
Interesting.
because of the like roles she plays. And it wasn't just for this season because obviously
Yeah.
she's in season 4 as well. She also plays a different character in a way later season that I won't tell you until we get there to see if you
Okay.
notice, but it's gonna be a minute. So like
Yeah.
we'll come back to it. But she started as a child in
No,
theater
I just
in
looked
Denver
up
in
a
the
picture.
80s.
I just looked up her to
Hmm.
see pictures of her as not Pepper. And
Hmm.
like, she's really pretty.
Yeah, she looks like a normal person.
Yeah.
And you've definitely seen her in other stuff.
Yeah, but like that's
Yeah.
the thing is like now I'm trying to figure out what I've seen her in, but I don't want to like pull up her IMDb and spoil shit for myself.
Oh, it's a lot. Like I don't even know what it was, but she's had like so many one-off scenes as like nurses. She was in like Grey's Anatomy one point. Like she's literally been
In
in like
everything.
everything. Let me see what her other
Oh,
it is. It's just one BR. It's Apartment
okay.
1 BR. That's the name of the show. That's why I couldn't read
That
it.
you couldn't read it.
Um yeah. She was in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She's just been in like random stuff. So um yeah, so you've definitely seen her, but nothing nothing too crazy. Because there
Mhm.
were a lot of one-offs, like I said.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so now we're gonna get into it. And we start where we left off with Arden trying to bring Kit back to life, and he's on the final steps, as we know, where you have to punch him in the chest, and if he doesn't wake up after that, he's dead. But he gives it a couple of goes, and indeed, Kit wakes up.
Yeah.
And of course, the first thing he asks is, did it work? Like, did they come back? And
Yeah. My note just says, what the fuck? Why is he lying? Because I
oh
can't, for
yeah.
the life of me, understand the motivation or reasoning here. Like, you brought him
So
into this and killed him to get answers, and then just didn't tell him what happened.
yeah.
And I get that, like, Arden's sketchy, but this was very confusing to me. Like, I was like, after
So
everything,
yeah, I
why?
think it's because he wants to experiment on Grace, and so he doesn't want anyone to know she's there. Because if you remember later on, like the only reason we found out she was there was whenever they were walking through Arden's office and heard a scream from the back room
Yeah,
where he
yeah,
used to keep
yeah.
Shelly. And so I think that's why he didn't say anything right now. Because obviously we know that like Grace and Pepper showed up, and
Yeah.
we see that they stayed, and so that he's kept them and like and so I assume that's why, because I think the next thing is Kit would try to escape with them or help them escape or be involved, and he wants to study them. And so he doesn't want Kit to find them.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess.
but yeah. And so then, and we learned that aliens didn't actually come back, or even if they did, we didn't see them come back. He only saw Grace
Yes.
and Pepper arrive. And so when we go back into this room with Grace and Pepper, Pepper comes out and she starts telling him because now she has gotten her voice. And she starts telling him that the aliens haven't only been watching everyone else, they've been very specifically watching Arden because he's also a
Yeah.
scientist. And yeah, so she's going through all of this and she's like, they're watching you, they know what's going on, they're trying to like learn, but they also are like, keeping an eye on you too. Um, and then she starts talking, he starts saying something about her and getting her voice back. And she's like, yeah. And she was like, and I was never the crazy one. And it turns out she was like, you just want to put me in front of people so they think I'm crazy, so that I take the blame, just like my brother-in-law did when my sister killed her kids and he said it was me.
Yeah.
And everyone believed him because I couldn't argue for myself. And so we learned that
Mm-hmm.
she also didn't kill any kids. So
Yeah. Well, and then I don't remember exactly what she says here. Like, she like tells that story, but then she like
mhm.
basically like tells Arden that he's a piece of shit, and like she's
Yeah.
not gonna let him anywhere near Grace or honestly anyone anymore if she has anything to say about anything. And I was like, you fucking tell him, Pepper. Like, she ripped him a new asshole, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
Because he's like, who's going to believe you? And he's like, even though you have your voice back, who's going to believe you? And she's just basically like, well, I'm going to make them. I'm not going to let you
Yeah.
get away with this anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so then we go to the credits. And so,
Okay, this time I did notice like a weird flash at the beginning of the credits of a face that I have definitely never seen before. Um,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
then I'll be honest, I really wasn't paying attention anymore.
Nothing else
But
is new. Nothing else
okay,
changed.
but I was like,
Um,
oh, nope, that one, that's new. I definitely didn't see that one before. Nailed it.
yeah, I think I'm not sure. I feel like maybe it was like briefly flashed at the end of the last episode credits. I don't know if
Okay.
you were paying that much attention to because I feel like that was the first time I saw it, but it could have been this episode. I just don't remember the order of
Okay.
events.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but yeah, that
I
was
definitely had
new.
never seen, I was like, oh, nope, that one is
It's
new.
much more
Okay,
prominent
cool.
this time, if even if
Yes.
it was the time before. Yeah. So we go back to Mary, Sister Mary, and Timothy, Monsignor Timothy,
My
who is
just
not
says,
dead.
yeah, that's why I said, how is he not dead?
Have you ever watched, oh, what was that show? Stigmata. Not everyone
No.
died. You should watch it. It's actually really good. Um, it's about the
See,
stigmata, obviously.
obviously, no, my doubt of him being dead wasn't necessarily about the fact that he was crucified. That
Mm,
is problematic and does cause people to
sure.
die. But also, we ended the episode with the angel of
The
death.
Dark Angel. Yeah.
The angel of death appeared to him as he hung on a cross, and
Uh-huh.
so I thought he was dead.
And that is
I
the
wonder I
correct
wonder
assumption.
why. I was like, I wonder why that is the train of thought I was on. But
Yeah, no, no, no. It totally makes sense. But we remember that she also came to Jude multiple times before she actually
it's
almost
true.
died.
Jude
So
and Lana both definitely had full conversations with her.
she's left everyone who still had work to do. And so she's decided that
I'm
Timothy
obsessed
has
with
work to
her.
do. I know, she's the
Angel of Death is
best.
the best.
And so Mary and Timothy are talking and they're talking about Santa. And he's like, I can't believe I didn't recognize it. Like, I just have no idea what was going on. Like, I shouldn't have let him free or whatever. This would have never
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And Sister Mary's still like kind of playing nice this time. But then we get a flashback. And it is to that scene of the angel of death where she tells him that Mary is the devil. And well, she says, you're young nun. And like, we all know who that is.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how am I? And she's like, and you still have work to do. And he's like, well, how do I like get away? She's going to know like my thoughts. And she tells him to use his rosary to block his thoughts from the devil, which we had previously seen him turning on his hands as she was kind of like tucking him in and taking care of him.
Yeah.
So he is indeed following the angel of death's rules. So we go to the common area and Sister Mary comes in and is aghast about this broken album that Sister Jude has made happen. And it turns out her solution was to buy a whole jukebox. So,
Also, the way she was trying to explain to these people who have never, like, who've
oh
been
my
locked
gosh.
up for so long, they don't know the modern world, what a jukebox is, I was dead.
Oh my gosh, she is like not doing well at this.
No.
And like one of the guys walks up and starts banging on it for cigarettes, and she's like, no, 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 it's not a
It's
cigarette
not a cigarette
machine. It's
machine.
it's music. You play music from it. This is the solution. So we now always have music at all times, even if one of the albums breaks. There's more to come.
Yeah.
Um, and as she's getting everything set up, she is obviously calling out Sister Jude for breaking the other one. And
Yeah.
she puts on I Put a Spell on You, Screaming Jay Hawkins version, if anyone was wondering. Um, and then shortly after, Kit comes in and he sees Lana, and they haven't seen each other since, you know, everyone was dying and whatnot, and
Yeah.
he was taken away. And so he hugs her, and they're like back to their little dynamic duo. And Kit tells her that Thredson's loose, and she's like, "How do you know? I was going to tell you that." And then we like look up, and it's because he's walking through the door.
Okay.
And
My note just says, fuck off, Oliver. But I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest. For a second, when I looked at what my next note was, I forgot what Threadson's first name was. And I was like, who the fuck is Oliver and why am I so mad at him? Like,
why am I
because
so mad at Oliver?
the only Oliver I could think of in that moment was a third grader. And I was
Oh,
like,
I'm an Oliver Twist.
no, one didn't even think of that. Literally thought of a child. And I was like, that seems not like something I would say.
Aggressive.
Yeah. On a Sunday, I didn't even work on that day.
That's
Um, but
yeah.
nope, it was Oliver Threadson. He's who I wanted to fuck off. That makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And he does come in and immediately starts talking to Kit and Lana, obviously. And
Obviously.
he says, don't worry, everything's fine. Sister Mary has decided to give me a full-time job. So we're going to renew our sessions with Kit, him and Kit.
Love it.
So then we go to Sister Jude, who's in her jail cell. And they're pulling all of the patients out of their rooms for a room search, as they do.
Yeah.
Um, And Lana immediately pins Miss Mary against the wall and confronts her. And she's like, I told you that he's bloody face and you've hired him full time. Like, how dare you? And
Right.
like,
Also, I love that you
that is
called
the correct
Sister Mary Miss
response.
Mary.
Did I call her Miss Mary? My bad.
I forgot to
Um,
tell you. Sorry, speaking of Sister Mary, I forgot to tell you. I'm watching a version of A Midsummer Night's Dream that came out in
uh-huh.
2017. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen any of them.
No. Okay. That's so this movie came out in 2017. It's really weird. It's like really weird because all of the dialogue is the actual Shakespearean dialogue, but it's like set in like 2010s Hollywood and like
Interesting.
yeah, and like the mechanicals, the actors in Midsummer Night's Dream, they're like actual like shitty film student actors and everything. Like it's weird. Um, but the the guy who plays um the Demetrius, no, not Demetrius, Lysander
I
is
don't know the story. I've never
oh,
seen Midsummer Night Dream
oh, what
or
the
read
fuck
it.
is wrong with you?
I
No,
know.
but but no, it's the version is starring what are those the guys' names? The both of the female actors I know off the top of my head, but the guys in it is starring um Hamish Linklater, Finn Wittrock, Rachel Lee
I don't know
Cook,
what that
and
is,
Lily
but I
Rabe.
do. Ah,
Hamish Linklater is Lily Rabe's partner.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I know him. I don't know the show you said that he's in, but I knew who
What?
he
No.
was.
Finn Wittrock is another name.
Oh, I thought you said White Rock. I didn't hear Finn at all.
No, no,
And
Finn
I was like, I don't know
Wittrock,
what White
who
Rock is.
Finn
I
Wittrock
also
was
know
also
him.
in, yeah, because he was also in American Horror
Yeah.
Story. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Oh, how
yeah,
fun.
and Rachel Lee Cook, who she's all that, Josie and the Pussycats, everybody knows Rachel Lee Cook, and
Mhm.
Lily Rabe. And it is so weird to see her playing like this like nerdy writer girl after watching this shit show
That's
that I
so
have been
funny.
watching. But as I'm
Yeah.
like but like the kids, my seventh graders have never watched American Horror Story because like they're
Sh-
small children. And so
Right.
like I'm like
As
trying
it
to
should not.
yeah. And then so I'm like looking at this girl and like trying to explain to them like who she is. And I'm like, never mind, just watch the movie.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's one thing that I really like about American Horror Story is that like using the same characters, they do a really good job of casting them not in the same roles. And so they
Hmm.
like so other casting directors and other producers get to see them like their full potential, which means that they can do
Yeah.
other stuff like this weird Midsummer Night Dream thing. And because they show that they can play so many different roles and you don't see
Right.
that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially and it because it sometimes almost hurts characters when they're in like a 7 season show because they're playing the same role and it's
Yeah.
hard not to typecast them at that point. But the
Hmm.
show really
Does a
outlined and
great job
like
with that. Yeah.
I mean they did do some of that with like um oh my God, Evan Peters. And that's why he played the Jeffrey Dahmer and he did all of this. But also, I mean, you see him in roles like this where he's
Yeah.
like also very empathetic and very kind and like but I think the roles where he's just evil are so much bigger and more
Yeah.
prominent than stuff
It's
like this
just,
because you're focused on the bad in the show. Um
yeah. I don't
and so
know.
it's kind of hard.
Kit Walker will always be the love of my life, I think.
Well, he is such a gem, such a
So true.
sweetheart. A little dumb sometimes, but such a sweetheart. Um, but yeah, Lana's mad at Sister Mary, and Mary tells her that they can go boil her for 20 minutes. And I was like, you just talked about how you want to keep this baby alive. You're so stoked for Thredson and his baby. And now you're going
Yeah.
to boil a pregnant woman. That doesn't feel proper for a baby.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
I don't think it
personally.
feels proper like for anyone. I don't really know what that was supposed to
Well,
be a
yeah.
treatment for.
Well, no, it doesn't sound proper, but like she's not as concerned about Lana dying, like as Lana, but she is concerned about the baby dying. And so why would you put them at more
Yeah.
risk? You know?
True. True, true, true.
Yeah. Yeah. So boiling them, they're not really concerned about the patients.
Yeah.
So I think it's just torture.
Yeah,
Um,
but see, like also yes and no, because like obviously she is, but in
mhm.
general, like all of the torturous things that they did in these facilities, they're not great, but there was like
A reason.
at some point in time, people believed that these things would cure things.
Yeah.
I don't know what boiling a person like
Maybe
when did
like
we ever decide that that was a thing?
maybe it's like boiling off impurities, you know, like if they like did something like physically, if they slept with the wrong people, which they're like boiling insecurities, but I mean, this was
Mm.
just torture. I don't know how this makes any sense, but that's the only thing I can like logically come up with.
Yeah.
Um, Not that I believe that works, but you know. Um, but yeah, so we're sending Lana off to be boiled, and then Mary goes into
Oh,
oh
sorry, I looked it up. I looked up the London
yes.
Asylum's definition of hydrotherapy, but um it was used, this actually, I take back everything I just said because it was used to treat patients with insomnia, suicidal tendencies, and like agitation and assaultive
So
tendencies
like anxiety,
because so like the water, like the hot
hmm
water would like calm their nervous system down.
like when you take a bubble bath.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I still don't think it does what they think it does, but like the thought
The
process
logic is
make the
there.
logic is there.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
All
so
right.
I was like, that's
No, that
just
makes way more sense.
it's been bothering me since, episode 1 of the show, but I took this moment right now to look it up.
Just the second, right? This
Yeah.
was the time we needed to know anyway, so it's okay. Um, so Sister Mary goes into Jude's room next and finds a cucumber in her room. And she starts coming up with all these innuendos, and she starts saying, "Oh, it's because of Monsignor and all this stuff." And Jude's like, Jude is not giving any cares in the world. She is just over
Yeah.
this, and she's like, "I'm
Yeah.
not about to buy into this." So
No.
she's not like fighting it. She's just like, "No, this is crazy." And
Whatever.
Sister
Yeah.
Mary keeps going, and she's like, "Fine, punish me. Do whatever you want." And so they fry her brain. And I was like, and she's like kicking and screaming. And like,
Dr. Arden, even
sh
Dr. Arden is like, let's take it
dial it back
easy.
a bit. Yeah. And like, I get the like obstinance of like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of upsetting me. But
Yeah.
also, she knows everything that happens there. And she
Yeah,
knows
but
how
like,
terrible some of those things can be, I feel like.
but yes, but also like that that is a martyr. Like that's what it is. Like
Hmm.
someone who's like refusing to give in to evil because in the name of like
Yeah.
defying the devil and like being holy, like that's literally what the Bible like tells us to do. And so
Yeah.
like I was like all for it. Like obviously it was upsetting and like
Right.
horrible,
Yeah.
but I was like I think it really truly was like fantastic writing and like good character writing that like
No, it
even
probably
even
was.
even in the face of like torture, Jude wasn't about to like give her what she wanted. And I
Hmm.
appreciated it.
Yeah. I'm absolutely not that strong. If you threaten to fry my brain, I'm gonna give up probably.
I like wanna say that I am, but I don't know that that's true. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanna be that person.
I mean, I'd like to believe the best of
Don't.
me,
Right.
but I just don't
I
have
like,
high
but to be
hopes.
honest, like right now, I think I have an ear infection and I would like to call in
Mm,
sick tomorrow just to not have to like
right.
function.
Yeah. It was so good. I was doing so good with my lamp.
You were.
Um,
It lasted for a very long time.
I charged it all day. I prepared so far in advance. I let my cell phone die and everything to charge this stupid light.
Wow.
We've just been on a really long time today.
We have.
Okay. Okay. It's just my little weird side lamp going. Okay. So yeah, so she's being a martyr, doing all the right things, and it's sad. And then we go back to Monsignor, and Mary is in there, and she's taking off his wrap, and she's like looking at his wounds, and she's like, it's healing, and it's healing faster than it should be. She's like, you can't be like canonized if you're going to heal that fast. You need to like suffer more, basically. And he's trying to like just deal with it. But then once she starts acting evil, and it's like, okay, the cover's blown, like I can't pretend like I don't know anymore. He immediately tries to exorcise her and obviously fails because he's very weak right now. And so instead, she rapes him. And
That was incredibly upsetting to watch. I was very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And also, the dog walked into the room and was like, "What is happening?" I go, he's being raped. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And then left the room
Poor
again.
dog. That's the correct answer. It's the
Yeah.
correct response. I also would have liked to have left the room, but
But
here we are.
alas.
And also, so would Dr. Arden, who walked in the middle of all of this. Um, was just distraught, and he did walk out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we go back to the common area, and Jude is coming back after her brain is fried, and it is very obvious that her brain has been fried,
Oh, she is
and like
gonzo.
she is not there, and like some of the patients are like crazed laughing, and there's just like a lot of things happening in this room with the patients. I keep wanting to call them inmates, and they are technically not, but they kind of are, but they're technically not.
If it's an asylum and you're there without choice, isn't it not there?
I think you're still a patient. I don't think
I
you're an
think so
inmate,
too.
like,
My
because
brain is
inmates
just that
are
I just
people.
always think of Arkham Asylum, which they are in fact inmates, but that's also because it's a prison for the criminally insane,
Right.
not.
Yes. Yeah, no, these people aren't up to the likes of Harley Quinn and Joker. So not quite the same level.
I don't know what it says about me that when I think of like asylums, I just immediately that's where I go. Like I don't think of like actual the things that we like actually did to people and like
Yeah.
the horrible treatment of like the mentally unstable in the past. I just go, oh yeah, no, like Bane and the Joker.
Arkham Asylum, absolutely. True, true,
Absolutely, for
true.
sure.
That's so funny. No, that's a better brain jump because if you
Re-
brain jump to the bad things that happen, you're just mad all the time. I brain
Yeah.
jump to like the what's the one out here in New York? There's Rikers and there's one that used to be out here that's closed now. Starts with a B.
Oh, I don't freaking
You know what I'm
know.
talking about? It's like the big
I
one. It's the
I
one that
know.
like
I know what you're
is
talking about,
based
but like
off of Lana's character is based off of.
yeah, like I know what it's but I don't
Hmm.
remember.
I can't remember either, but those are the two that I always like immediately go to.
Yeah.
And they're not good. There's not good things there. Um, yeah, so Jude's back in the room and she just slowly but surely makes her way over to the jukebox and just starts hitting it. And she's making it skip a bit, but like obviously she's not going to do any more damage than that. It's pretty sturdy. And then Lana comes up to her to help her because she now feels very bad for her. And she's like, you know, I wanted her to understand, but now I feel worse than if she didn't. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, because you don't want to see people like this if you're a decent human. Even if you know she did this to other people. Um, and
Is it
so
is it Willowbrook?
no, no, no.
No,
Bellevue.
okay. Bellevue. Okay,
Hmm. It came to me as you said that. I don't know why, because those are nowhere near the same word.
no.
Um, but it did come to me.
No,
Um,
Willowbrook is on Staten Island, but
oh, okay.
yeah,
That one, is it still open though?
I don't think so.
I think just Rikers is, and it's not really an insane asylum. It is a prison,
Yeah.
but um, yeah. So Lana's talking to her and trying to be like, "Do you know your name? This is my name. Like, let's remember everything." And then Jude's mind just kind of like wanders into this dreamland where she plays the name game and she is singing to everyone. And there's this big like singing and dancing musical number of the name game, which is just like you feel like you're on drugs while you're watching it. At
So
least I did.
if you remember, I wrote a note and I told you that I wrote a note. Before we started recording anything, I opened my notebook and the only thing on my paper that I saw was what the actual fuck is happening.
Hmm.
This is when I wrote that note.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
But then I also, as I continued watching it, completely confused as to why this was happening or why it was wasting
Hmm.
my time. 'Cause to be honest, it did not fit and
No, it did not fit.
it didn't feel like sometimes you have weird things that like are like dream sequences and like you're like,
I get why it's
okay.
here.
Didn't get it.
No.
Um, but what I did get is how much fucking fun it must have been on set that
Oh my
day.
God. You
Like
could see it in their faces.
oh my God, they like
The only happiness they've ever seen.
Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters looked like they were living their best lives. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this party.
Yeah.
It was
They,
amazing.
oh gosh, you can tell that they've never had a happy day in their life from American Horror Story set. Like, this
Yeah.
is the only one they've ever had.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
ugh,
I was like, I hate this, but
good for them.
also I love this.
Right. Yeah. And so we do eventually at some point in time jump back to reality. Um, and
Back
Lana's
to
still trying to remind
reality.
her
Oh, there
name.
goes
I
gravity.
know. Every time I write something about going back to reality, I always write it, jump back to reality. I can't
Uh,
control myself.
yeah,
So it's a great song, great song.
yeah,
Um, and so Lana's still trying to remind her, she's like, you're Judy Martin, I'm Lana Winters, like your sister Jude, like you have to know these things.
yeah.
And then we go back to Arden and Mary, and she's following him around while he's feeding the creatures. Is this the scene you were talking about that's really bright?
Oh, I was talking about the fucking dance number that for
Oh,
like,
the dancing
yeah.
scene.
Like I was like,
Yeah.
because not only is it bright, it also is a different show.
Yeah.
Like it was odd. But yes, this scene was
Yeah.
also bright.
This was also like uncharacteristically bright.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so she's following him around while he's feeding the creatures, and he's telling her, like, I wish you hadn't done that. Like, there's no coming back from that. And she's, calling him a Nazi, and he's upset about that and all this stuff. Or she calls him like, I don't know, maybe she calls him his name, his
She
Hans or
just keeps
whatever.
calling him Hans, and he's like, I told you to
Yeah.
stop calling me that. And she's like, whatever, I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Right. And so he's feeding the creatures and they're going through this whole thing. And she starts being like, you know what? Now that we fried Judy's brain, here's the next thing I want to do. Let's give her a lobotomy. And she is too excited about it.
Yeah.
She is like crazed.
And he's like, no, I'm not gonna fucking
Yeah.
do that.
He's like, even if that was a thing to do, I would not do it because you want it. And we don't do what you want anymore
Yeah.
because you're a terrible person. Then he starts shooting all the creatures and he's like, this study is over. We're done.
Well,
I'm
here's the
just like,
thing. But then he
okay.
also almost shoots himself. But
Yeah.
then he starts crying and he's like, I just need you like to go. I need her back, basically. And
Yeah.
he's like
Which is obviously
crying
not gonna happen.
into his wheelbarrow of meat um and Sister Mary Eunice is just like, get up. You're fucking pathetic, basically. And
Yeah.
my note says, Jesus, Arthur. Well, and then it was funny because as I was writing Jesus, she said, Jesus Christ. And I was like, and I go, I don't ever want to agree with the devil, but shit, dude. Like,
Yeah. Like
pull
he's really weak
yourself
for someone
together.
who has killed a lot of people.
Right? Like, pull yourself together.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, do you think like threatening to shoot yourself is going to like make Sister Mary come back? Like, it's just gonna make the devil be like, yeah, do it. Like, she's just gonna be more goading than she is now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you were looking to accomplish. And also, she doesn't care if you die. So it's not like you're giving her an ultimatum. She doesn't care if everyone dies. She'll just move to someone else. That's the whole thing. That's how the devil
Yeah.
works. So, um, so we go to the kitchen and Timothy comes in and he sends everyone out into the common area and asks for Jude to stay. And she is like not there. She's like
No,
not a person.
not
And
functioning at
yeah, not functioning at all. And he starts going through this whole spiel with her. And he's like, you're the only real friend I've ever had. Like, I did really want to become like the Pope and do
yeah.
all this stuff with you. He's like, I don't know why I ever turned on you. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. That was my fault, my bad. And he's like, but you're the only one I can talk to. And so he tells her about Sister Mary. And he's like, I'm really struggling with if I should renounce my vows, if I should, fight it, whatever. And like this whole time, she's just very empty. And then at the end of his rant, she just looks at her. She just looks at him and says, you should kill her. Like, that's the solution. And
Oh, well
I
then,
was like,
okay.
you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
That's very extreme. And that's not the answer to any of the questions. But
Yeah.
but you're not wrong. So we go to Thredson and he's wandering the halls with his like nurse guy. I can't think of what they're called. Um
Carl.
what Carl, yeah. And he's telling him he was like, you should call for Kit, make sure he's in a straitjacket. And I was like, he's literally the most harmless person here, but fine. And then
Whatever.
he goes to see Dr. Arden to take some of his sodium pentanol, which I meant to look up what that was. I don't know. I know sodium is salt.
It is. Uh,
Pentanol
Um,
sounds like a gasoline type thing, but I don't know what it is. And it's
um,
not 100% that I heard it correctly.
oh, it's a barbiturate.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he's going to get. And then he hears of,
It's yeah, it's a barbiturate that they refer to as truth serum.
see,
Yeah.
and I assumed it would be like a truth serum, but I didn't look it up to see what it was. So thank you for researching. Um,
Sure.
and so
I got Google.
in the midst of him finding this truth serum, he hears a woman scream. And this is where we learn that Arden has been keeping Grace and Pepper in the back room where he used to keep Shelley, and he walks into Grace giving birth with Pepper's help. And that's a relief, that basically. So we go back to Timothy, who is sitting in his room or a room praying when Sister Mary walks in and just starts goading him. And she is just like going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And she tells him that she knows he wants to kill her because obviously. And she brings up how he killed Shelley, and she's like, "Are you gonna do it with the rosary like you did with Shelley?" And he's like, "I didn't do that. How would you know that?" And obviously, she's the devil. She knows everything.
Yeah.
Um, but then she starts telling him, she's like, "I also know that you want to be the Pope and you want to do all these things, and we can rise together." And she tells him, she says, "You're mine now, body and soul." And I was like, I don't think the soul is gone yet. Like, we haven't gone that far, but okay.
I wrote,
Um,
someone killed this bitch already.
yeah. And he tries to tell her, he's like, I know that Sister Mary's purity still remains in there. And then the real Mary comes out and says she's tired of fighting and she just can't do it anymore. She's about to give in. And he throws her over the banister.
The thing was, I wrote, someone killed this bitch already, and then I looked up and he pushed her, and
And
I
he was
go,
killing her.
thank you.
Good timing, yes. And the
Yeah.
angel of death comes in, and Mary just says, "Take me." And the angel says, "I'll take both of you." So it's nice that her purity and innocence. Oh, I'm pushing buttons. Okay. Her purity and innocence
Yeah.
still remained, and
I
she
love
can still be saved, but also the devil is gone.
it. Was beautiful. It
We
was
still have
lovely.
3 episodes left.
I
So
know. And what could possibly happen?
I know, I
I
know.
mean,
That's the question of every episode of American Horror Story for the rest of your life. So stay tuned. Um, so then Timothy walks in, or Timothy's praying over Sister Mary when Arden walks in.
yeah.
And Arden says that she has to be cremated. He's like, no, she needs to be buried because of all these reasons. The soul can't move on if you cremate them, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
The Catholic Church doesn't believe in
Yeah,
cremation.
yeah. And he's like, no, no, no. There was a devil in her. Like, she has to be cremated. It's the only
Yeah,
way we know that it's done.
like you don't know what is even like in the
Yeah.
soul fibers of her body.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, I'll help you. And he's like, no, I have to do it by myself. And he's like,
I wrote,
okay. And
Arden,
then
don't fuck this up.
I know, I was like, is he gonna just like steal her body and then bring the devil back? What is about to happen? Um, but then he starts to, so then the Monsignor starts talking about one of the saints says, like, when a saint dies, you smell like roses and all these beautiful smells. And Arden's like, oh, well, what do you smell right now? And he was like, just decay. He's like, that is all it is. And so Arden starts kind of like cleaning her face and getting her prepped. So we go to Thredson, who is receiving Kit in a straitjacket, and he immediately takes him to go see Grace Pepper and the baby. And he starts telling him, like, this is your child, like, you have to basically do whatever I say now. And Kit's like, that's not possible. And he asks Grace, and Grace confirms that it's his. And like, she always seems shady, so I never even know if she's telling the truth, anyways. But so it turns out that all of this threatening was so that Kit would tell him where the tape was hidden, that where he confessed.
Can I
And
tell you
unfortunately,
the
he does
worst
tell
part?
him. Yeah.
My notes for this are so dumb because I literally had just been watching TikTok videos before I watched the episode. And so when you see Thredson walk into the bathroom and I know he's going to try to find the tape, my note
Mhm.
literally just says, God fucking damn it, Dave. You know,
I
there's a
don't know.
TikTok sound.
Oh, I
It's
don't
a
get it.
TikTok sound. Okay, well,
You'll have to
for
send
any
it
of
to me
our
one day.
listeners who, yeah, for any of our listeners who watch TikTok on a more regular
Not,
basis than
not in the
Courtney,
middle of a panic
um,
spiral.
yeah, there's a TikTok sound where, yeah,
I feel like
that was my
I'm
reaction.
the way with TikTok that Tig Notaro is with pop culture. I was watching After Midnight, and she was one of the. Do you know Tig Notaro? She's a
Yeah,
comedian. Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she doesn't know pop culture, and so like she didn't know who let the dogs out. She doesn't know like any pop culture. They showed Cat Dog on the screen, and she didn't know who they were. Like it was, it was a whole thing,
Oh,
and I was like, "This is how I feel when it comes to TikTok." Like I get regular life, real people pop culture, but not the TikTok kind. Um, but it's okay. I know like one out of every 50 things that happens on TikTok. And that feels like enough for me. So he goes off to find this tape and he finds exactly where it's hidden. However, whenever he uncovers it, it is a book and not the tape. And he's trying to flip through it to see if the tape's hidden
yeah.
inside. And to confirm, Lana walks in and says that she moved it and she is the only one who knows where it is now. And he's not going to be able to find it. So we go back to Jude, who's still really out of it. And she's clearly trying to remember what's happened. She's like naming all the patients in front of her, trying to remember everyone's name. Um, Mother Superior goes to see her, and she's trying to talk to her while she's doing all of these things. And Jude says she wants to say goodbye. And Mother Superior's like, what does that mean? And she's like, I'm moving to Rome. I'm getting married to Monsignor Timothy, and we're going to get married at the Vatican. We're going to be
Mm,
the Pope, and everything's going to be fine. And then she says he killed her, but he had to. And so, of course, Mother Superior tells her that she needs some help still, that she needs some rest. And she tells
yeah,
her, she was like, here's the thing. She was like, out of everything that needs to happen, she's like, do you see that woman over there? Lana Winters is her name.
yeah,
She was like, I put her in here and she did not need to be here. If nothing else, you need to get her out.
right.
So she at least is like coming around.
And I was like, oh, Jude.
Yeah. And then we go to the crematorium and the asylum. And Arden is setting it up and he's unzipping Sister Mary to see her face. And he starts getting ready to send her through the crematorium. But he climbs on top of her and burns alive with her. So instead of shooting himself, he decides burning alive is the solution.
So when the scene first started, I was like, he's gonna do something creepy to her body. I was like, oh no, oh no. And then he starts to climb on top of her, and I was like, oh my God, no. And then he presses the button to push the thing into the fire, and I said, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So all the baddies are like getting gone. We only have Thredson left. That's like a true bad guy.
But
We have
like,
people that are not
what the
doing great.
fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, even if you're like cowardly about killing yourself, like that just doesn't feel like the way. Like you're a doctor. You could inject
Yeah,
yourself with something that
you
you're
have
not going to feel. You can take something, a cyanide pill. Literally, you have so many options that are much less painful. So, but he decided to go with Sister Mary
also
instead.
the irony of a Nazi putting themselves into a crematorium, not
Yeah.
lost on me.
Yeah, that's not lost on us.
Oh,
So,
that was dark and fucked up.
mhm. Yeah. So, you have any feelings, thoughts? What are you thinking?
I
How are you
genuinely
feeling?
have no idea how there's supposed to be three more episodes of the show. Like, if you told me there was one more episode, it'd be like, okay, cool.
Right,
And
they're gonna wrap it up. Yeah.
right, and like, even though I know there's this whole weird fucking alien thing that they have to address at some point, like, whatever. Um, I genuinely don't know what on earth could possibly hold me together for three more episodes.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Well,
seem reasonable.
we'll figure it
Which,
out.
and here's the thing, I'm not saying that it won't turn out well. And they do tend to shock me, but I just genuinely can't imagine anything lasting three episodes from here on out that doesn't feel contrived as shit. So
Yeah.
I'm nervous that it's gonna feel forced or like shock
Well,
value-y for the sake of shock value.
we will see. We will see.
Yeah,
I do have some trivia for you. Like I said, it was the
great.
third highest rated episode for all seasons at this time that was shared. The number that was used was G2573, and they did a lot of math to come up with that it leaves us with 7773, which are all biblical numbers.
Yeah.
Um, so this episode also is the one that has a clue for what the next season is going to be about. Did you catch it?
Well, obviously they put a spell on you because Coven's the next season.
Yeah. Yeah. So they hadn't announced it yet at this point,
Yeah,
but
right.
um it is pretty easy once you know what the season's about.
Yeah, like in
Um
if you were asking me in January of 2012, what is next season going to be based on this episode, would not have had a clue.
Not a clue.
But knowing that Coven is the next season,
Hmm.
that's a pretty easy
Yeah, some are
clue.
a little less in your face,
Right.
but not all of them.
Yeah, I
This
don't
wasn't.
remember. I don't
Yeah.
remember what the clue for Asylum was. Like I remember us talking about it.
Yeah, it was something pretty obvious too. I don't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
but I don't remember it off the
Um,
top of my head, but I remember us talking about it
yeah,
on the podcast and it being like pretty easy to figure out once you
yeah,
knew what Asylum was.
yeah. I haven't done a second rewatch of any of the seasons after this. So I don't remember what their like spoilers were for like I've only
Mm,
watched the season right before it, the next one. So I haven't watched them in
yeah.
reverse order to see what the other ones are. So I'm excited
Okay.
to see those too. Also the gun that he used in the field was a Luger, which was favored by SS soldiers and Nazis.
That makes sense.
Um,
It looked like a Nazi gun.
so yeah, so that is all of my trivia. So who do you want to punch in the face?
Oh, where to begin, really? I just still can't get over Arden tossing himself into the fucking crematorium, and that is gonna live with me forever, I think. And
Mhm.
so I'm gonna have to go with that.
Yeah, that's fair. I put the Monsignor, and he didn't necessarily do anything crazy this episode, but also we got here because he turned on Jude to protect himself and got in with all the bad people. And now like he's paying the price for it and like it sucks for him, but like we didn't have to get this far. And he's a big part of the reason it did. So I'd like to punch him. Who is your MVP?
Damn. I picked the Monsignor for my MVP because, well, what you just said is not untrue. First of all, this poor man had like the one thing that like really is should never be anyone's choice to not have
Mhm.
taken away from them. And like that is really painful to watch. And like his response to it wasn't to get angry, even at her, it was to feel that he needed to like have a conversation with God because like
Hmm.
it wasn't even like even though it wasn't his to give away, like it wasn't he didn't give it away, he still felt like his impurities now like were a problem, which is
Yeah.
sad, but like it's a very I don't know, it's a very like a very
Hmm.
non-masculine way of handling that situation, I think, from what is normally portrayed in
Yeah, I think
in
so.
film. And also he like did what he had to do to like get free his facility of the devil,
Yeah.
which
It just
sucked
took him
and
a
was
minute to
not
come
great.
around, but
It
yeah.
it took him a minute, but like but the other thing is once he knew how bad things really were,
Hmm.
like he didn't
Once he was
know.
the actual devil and not just like
Yeah,
a
like he
reformed
didn't.
Nazi soldier.
Right, and like you can talk all you want about like people and their shortcomings and their sins and being forgiving and like
Hmm.
and no, like his decisions weren't good and like obviously Arthur was not reformed in any way, but like you can always argue that people have the potential for salvation,
Hmm.
but this was not that, and he did what needed to
Yeah.
be done.
Yep. Yeah. So I actually put him as the person I wanted to punch and as my MVP. So so I think you're completely right.
Yeah.
Obviously. But because you picked him, I will pick Lana because
Yeah.
she, which is not normally who I pick, but I picked her because she did really try to help Sister Jude and she realizes that she can't use anger to like go with Sister Jude. She has to also be forgiving. And she did actually protect Kit and save the tape,
Hmm.
so that, he's still safe because Kit would have been my second punch in the face because he like
Yeah, I
you
considered Kit
giving
for
the
my
tape
punch in the
away.
face too.
I get it. It's like you're not being freed, but also like if they have the tape, you'll be free and you may not be a father. But at the same time, like you're not going free because he's gonna just put you in jail immediately. Like nothing you're doing is the
Yeah.
correct answer.
No,
And
because he's
so I
naive.
don't know.
Like he's not
Hmm.
evil. He's just naive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so on our next episode, I have a very vague overlying thing for you.
Right.
We will see a little bit more about the aliens,
Oh my
and
God.
one of our characters is not always as good as they seem. So we will see a little flippy floppy. Not major, but like a little flippy floppy. Um yeah,
See, the
so
problem is the only character that I think is good is Kit, and so like I don't know. And I don't
well,
think
we'll
he's. I
see.
think he's dumb.
Yeah. Well, we
Interesting.
will we will see how that goes. In the meantime, if you want to talk to us about it, you can email us, deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13,
You can find me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
and we will see you on Sunday for a wackadoo episode of Sci-Fi Sunday.
Yay! Bye.